what you're doing today. You're involved with the business development, but I got a question that I know a lot of people are going to want to know because this is your zone of genius, in my opinion. But through your life, like, do you currently have a morning routine?
I do. Hmm.
Well, what's that look like? Like, I think, and why? Like, why do you have one? Did you not have one before in the past, or what does it look like and why?
Yeah. So for many years, I did not have a morning routine. I just jumped out of the bed and whatever the day, whatever it presented is whatever I went with. And then probably about 2005, I was about 24 years old and I was wanting to, I don't know, improve my life, improve myself. And so I made a lot of changes and I discovered that taking the time in the morning to connect, especially just to myself, my spiritual self, my physical self, everything that has to do with my internal self. I just find that it works really well when I get up in the morning and I start my day off with just tuning in and just creating my day. So I don't just get up and live haphazardly anymore. I get up and create whatever the day is that I'd like to have for the
So
most.
what is yeah? So let's dial that down because I'm definitely interested. What does tuning in mean?
Yeah. Tuning in for me is typically some type of meditation or breath work where I am letting go of the exterior world and tuning into my real self, my true self, my inward self, so that I can hear my own intelligent wisdom from within. And we all have it. It's just a matter of giving it attention, being quiet and still enough to hear.
Yep.
Sometimes it takes that. So meditation.
So the meditation thing, obviously we've talked about it. I am now, and obviously I have a mentor that I go to, Neil, who's very big on being able to tap into the subconscious or meditate and really taking that time. And so I've started here recently trying to get into that and set aside, I'll go now that I'm working out early in the morning now, changing up that routine. I'll try to set aside some time, right? Like where I go and do that. And he, recommended to start with just going on YouTube and Googling guided meditation videos and they kind of walk you through it. I am still struggling, obviously just kind of, I don't know. Like, I think a lot of people struggle with the whole meditation thing, in my opinion. At least I know I do. What, how do you know, like, what you're doing? Is it just something that you feel whenever you start gaining something from that, or walk? Because I know you're big into this and you've been doing it for a long, long time, and it's changed your life. But what? So what do you do? Like, how do you meditate? What does that mean?
Well, meditation is really anything that you can focus your brain on just one singular thing. And so, meditation, a lot of people use breathing techniques or just focusing on the breath just to really slow the mind down, just to have it. The misconception that people have about meditation is that you think because you're meditating, you're supposed to not have thought, but your brain is intended to think. And so, when we sit and we want to be still and we want to be quiet, we have a couple of misconceptions. We're looking for a specific outcome, and we really shouldn't. We're just really looking to be still, be quiet, relax, let all of the madness in the brain just settle in and settle down for a reset. That's really all that we're doing. And so there's no real specific expectation or outcome that you will have, and every meditation can be different. The experience that you have, and like I said, your brain is intended to think. So it's not that you're bad or your brain is bad if you're thinking. That's what it's intended to do. So just, taking the opportunity instead of getting in that dialogue with yourself or in your head about, oh, I'm not supposed to be thinking, or what's for dinner, or whatever these thoughts, what, I don't have time for this. I need to be doing something else, or I should be feeling something right now. Why am I not? And so we get in our heads about the whole process. And then really it's a matter of just slowing down and taking those breaths. So for me, I also practice yoga. And so I really like to get into the body, not just the brain, or not just the breath, but just the body, like tuning in. How is my body feeling? Do I have any tightness, tension, or sensations anywhere? And just letting the intelligence of my body also be known. And then just focusing on the breath or a part of the body or whatever that might be, a guided meditation, just anything to really slow the brain down. And once we slow our brains down, it's like allowing the cork to float to the top. It's when we are not in our heads so much, we can allow more things into our life and attract them rather than having to force or work for them as hard, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, it does. And, coming from somebody who, it took me going through the process of building a business to really understand how big your mental outlook on things are, that mindset. Like, it's taking me just kind of going through it and realizing it, which is now why I'm big on energy and positivity and making sure that we're doing things that allow for that energy to be put towards what we want it, not things that are negative or bringing you down. The meditation, I think the biggest thing for me is, and you kind of touched on it, but the meditation is more or less what you're saying is just going and having some you time, not expecting, hey, all of a sudden I'm going to come out of this and be like a completely different person. It's about your body becoming centered, I guess, so to speak. So in your instance, obviously just taking that time, from what I understand, is be consistent with it and just do it. And after a certain amount of time, you will start really getting in and almost needing it on a daily basis, not necessarily needing it, but wanting it every single day, that little piece of time. And you get better and better at being able to do it in different scenarios, from what I understand. Now, I haven't gotten there. I'm just starting it off, so we'll document how that's going. But, a lot of times I don't feel comfortable doing it. It's completely against everything that I've always really kind of thought about and done. So I'm having to really push through it hard. But I've heard enough about it just to trust the process. And so the guided meditation, I think right now is good for me, because it helps kind of tell me what to do and things to be going on in my head or brain or whatever, so to speak. I mean, I'm talking very layman generic terms because I'm just now getting into all of this. But from your standpoint, whenever you made that change and you started focusing and having that time, that meditation time, and taking it seriously, because I know you've been doing it for many, 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 many years, what do you think? So we can kind of wrap this part up. But for somebody, regardless if they're a professional, they need something for personal, whatever it may be, what do you think it has done for you? What do you? Is there anything tangible that you can think back and go, before I started really doing this, I felt like X. Now I do this and I see that I'm handling things differently, or my thoughts go about certain things that are happening. My thoughts are completely different than what they used to be, or I'm more patient. Like, do you have anything tangible that you can share that changed once you just kept doing it and making sure that time was priority?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things I just wanted to kind of highlight, just to talk about it, is we are human beings, not human doings. So when we're going into the meditations, it's really about being and not doing. So so I just wanted to throw that in there. But so,
I like that.
Yeah, we're just being. So one of the mantras that I used early on in my meditations, and I still come back to it, is just let it be. So when I want to focus, I want to, relax and settle in and just take that time to meditate and clear my mind or tune inward. And then what I used to have mantras, especially, it helped me in the beginning, which was just breathing in and exhaling and let it be. So let it be, whatever that is, whether it's an emotion or a thought or, continual thoughts, whatever it is, just breathe in, exhale, let it be. So it's instead of attaching ourselves to conversations in our head, just really, if we have a thought, instead of continuing that thought with a whole nother thought or a whole conversation, it's just letting it be. And so I just find personally yoga and meditation, especially meditation, just taking that time to be inward and to breathe. For me, what's tangible, what I started to see in my life is that anxiety was less. I used to have a lot of anxiety. I don't have that anymore. I mean, I'm human, so I might have a moment, but I'm not chronically, anxious.
But you're able to tap inward and analyze that quickly now, if you are having that, and understand why you're having it. And right, like, is that kind of
right? Well, with meditation, you're really settling in and relaxing, and especially tuning into the breath. A lot of people will use that during the meditations. And what I find is that when I've meditated daily, when I meditate daily, 15 minutes or whatever, how much ever time, that I have or that we can make for it. I'll just say we could make for it. It's really helping to just calm the brain down and the nervous system and everything. And you're tapping into, just letting it be instead of always trying to control everything. And so in say a work day, when you're working, you get an email or you get something that upsets you. Our breath is really amazing, and we'll start to notice that we'll start taking longer, slower, deeper breaths. We'll realize we're not as reactive. Perhaps we, are more settled. Our energy is more calm. Our brain is not so all over the place or worrisome. And some of those things were especially beneficial for me, and why I continue to still use meditation and yoga. But yeah.
That's awesome.
But I will say this, that meditation does not have that instant gratification effect for the most part. And so a lot of people in this day and age are not interested in spending 15 minutes a day doing absolutely nothing when they could be accomplishing something or getting something done, because there's no instant gratification a lot of times in meditation. I mean, sometimes I have an instant gratification or oftentimes I'll touch that space within me that's just all knowing, all being, all that there is. And when I touch that just through just a few minutes of meditation, even if only for a couple of moments, to me, that's enough to, reset and revitalize my whole mental, everything, my day. But a lot of times, especially in the learning process of meditation, or you don't know what you're doing, if you're doing it right, like, people just get more frustrated and they don't stick with it because there's no immediate outcome that they're getting. And so they're like, why the hell am I doing this? I don't want to do this. I'm wasting my time.
And you see that a lot, like even, and I agree with that. I think the biggest thing that I have really, whenever it comes to all this stuff, is having a clear direction on what you want to accomplish or where you want to go, and then trusting the process and having faith that on the other side of this process, the grass is going to be greener in whatever way that can mean. And, at this point where I'm at, as I continue to try to grow and take the business to a certain, but take my personal side of stuff to a whole different level, this is something that I know I have to do in order to get me there. How long will it take? I don't know. I feel like I bombed the first week of doing it, but I'm going to trust the process, keep going. And eventually, like everything else, you're going to get there. And it's very common for, you talk about digital marketing, what we do, same type thing, but sometimes you just got to trust the process. But working out is a big one, exercising. People go a month, they haven't lost as much weight as they think or feel like they should have, when all they have to do, just give it a few more weeks and you'll start seeing something, but they quit because they don't see that immediate drop in weight, or they don't see that immediate muscle being built. But that if you're getting up and you're lifting weights and you're running, at some point you're going to get better. There's no other way. Now, if you don't eat right, you may not lose weight, but if you're lifting weights, you're going to get stronger.
Mm-hmm.
you will. Like there's no way you can't, even if you don't lift a lot of weight, just the fact that you're lifting. So I agree with you completely, and we're going to put that in there. I think that's going to be. I just wrote a note to jump to that. I think
Yeah.
that's going to be the teaser.
Yeah. So one of the things that you talked about with just your business and I just wanted to highlight like what I absolutely love is when a person is growing a business, and I love that business affords people the opportunity to grow inward. So when you're growing a business and you are starting to grow a bigger team and you have more responsibilities and you have new hats to wear, new goals to achieve, new challenges to face, I see all of these as opportunities to grow as a human, as an individual, to become a stronger, more clear-minded, grounded, expansive human. And so I love how people will, start a business because of their interest or whatever that is. And then they get to a point in their business and they're like, I can't get any farther. I have to do something about me.
Yep.
And so they take the opportunity and they're like, okay, well, if I want my business to grow, I'm going to have to grow. And so I've seen that with you. I've seen you doing that. And I love that. I love when a person will do whatever they need to do to get better, to continue to grow, the business or the family or whatever it is. So, yeah, I just wanted to.
Yeah, I think, and a lot of that comes back to, I think, no, and I appreciate that, obviously, but, I think a lot of it comes back to just kind of deciding and knowing where you want to go and like what you want to accomplish. There's a lot that could say, hey, man, you gotten a good point. Like, you don't need to go do that. And like nobody needs to do really anything about it. But with where I want to go, and it's not about me anymore. It's about everybody else that's part of the team now. That once you start getting that on your plate, right? Like it starts becoming a lot bigger of a deal to make sure you are doing everything that you can to provide for them and keep leading, not just leading the business, but leading by example and breaking through walls so that then I can turn and tell people what I learned the hard way because I didn't do it. I think that's one thing, like on our team meetings, one thing that I constantly am talking about, which I would have told you were crazy if you told me I was going to be talking about making sure that you keep your energy focused in the right areas and positivity and all this stuff that I thought was just kind of woo. Oh, you don't need to have the mindset. You just go out there and do it and break, go knock down the doors and hit the street. You're going to go. No, I mean, over the years, I have come to realize through going through bad things or whatever it may be, or frustrations, I've learned that it is a lot bigger of a deal to be focused and to have that energy where it needs to be in order to accomplish the things you want to accomplish outside of just working your ass off. Like it is so much more important. You're going to be 10 times more productive. You're just going to be better in your personal life, all of that. If you can, make sure that you are centered, like you've got everything under control, as opposed to just grinding, working 18 hours a day and tired and pissed off and everything else. Like that's not doing anything. I would much rather you go chill out at the beach or go work out for 5 hours or meditate or whatever you need to do. Come back, give me 4 solid effing hours of just solid, great energy. I guarantee you're going to get 10 times more done. Your work's going to be better. You're going to be happier. And I've come to find that and realize that. And I think it's something that's overlooked by a lot of people. And that's why I thought that, you go digging into your meditation side, because that's one way to accomplish it. I think I've been able to have the ability to kind of work through a lot of stuff through thought. I am a deep thinker where I think through a lot, which I've come to realize that's not normal for a lot of people to take that time to think about what they're doing wrong and look within. But I still even need to take it to a different level in order to keep going and pushing to the levels that I think that we all deserve and want, and I know we can help up more. But it all starts with, yeah, I mean, until I get now, I need to put that focus on me, because by doing that, Megan's going to put a different focus on her, because she's going to see me doing it every single day in the house, and trying to make an effort to do things differently and be better at certain things, and which will be passed down. And it's kind of that trickle down effect, which then, the business is such a big part of that. You gotta, it all kind of plays together, especially whenever you're running your own business or starting or trying to advance your career. So anyway, no, I appreciate that. But, obviously talking with you all the time, it helps put that in the forefront and make me start thinking like, yeah, I need to get more into that. So, anything else you want to add before we jump to the next one?
Yeah, I don't know. I have a couple of things, like, just one is, one of the things that I'm hearing you say is, talking about energy and positivity and some of those things. And I used to be the person that was like, my whole entire life is rainbows and butterflies. I'd had some hard times in my life, and I'd gotten through that for the most part, or at least so I thought. And I could not handle negativity or darkness. And that was the healthiest thing for me, was to just avoid it, because I was in the process of healing or getting better or learning even how to be. And then at some point, I decided to start to look at the darkness, to go back and experience and allow myself to fully feel also negative emotions, and not just the positive ones. And what I find is, these pains that we experience, challenges, negative emotions, whatever they may be, negative thoughts on the inside, if we could just start to kind of lean into them instead of rejecting them or ignoring them, we'll find that it provides a lot of medicine or a lot of healing or a lot of growth when we're able to go into some of the most challenging parts of our own selves as we're faced, to grow in a business or whatever that might be. If we would not just completely resist it, but if we would just accept it and say, okay, there's this thing about me, there's this emotion that I'm feeling, there's whatever that is, and how can that teach me? How does this want to teach me to be better? How do I make this weakness or this pain or whatever, this challenge, how do I turn this into something positive or beneficial? And so it's really important that we're not just always just pushing away bad experiences or bad emotions, but actually giving them a little bit of light or attention and asking, what do they want to teach? I think those are some of the best practices that we often want to avoid, but have the best potency.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's just telling you're so into this, and I'll, like, one day I'll probably get there, but I've just I gotta just keep consistency right now.
Well, I think, Brandon, what you do for business and how you're going into it, this is your thing, right? And I believe that the business, I see this with a lot of business owners, the business itself becomes one of your greatest allies to help you as an individual to grow. It gives you a lot of challenges as you're continuing to evolve and help other people. And so this is the thing where you really learn to grow. And this is what, you care so much about, that you're willing to look at another area that you before would not have, or whatever the case might be. So I think that linchpin, your business, really gives you that. I've had my own journey. And so why I'm so crazy about these things is because of my own journey. And mine, wasn't necessarily a business. It was just, as growing up and changing and evolving as we all do. And so my story just really led me to a path of getting into the darkness and really understanding how it benefits us instead of resisting it. And so that's why I'm always,
Well, it's why you're good at what you do too, you know, because you've gotten to that. And you've worked on it and you identified a lot of that, and obviously it just doesn't go away. It's something, and this is one thing I'm learning too, is it's it's not, this type of stuff is not something that just one day you're just going to be like, okay, I'm good now. No, I mean, you're constantly, you're constantly having to keep up with it, but it's you and it's your own person. And
well, I
it's
feel
just
like
interesting. Yeah.
I feel like that with Lynchpin, like, you and Megan, you've been through a lot. You've, had your ups and downs. You've learned the business itself. And that's what you're here to do, is help people that need your services. And you've been through that. As an individual, as a business, and that's how you provide. That's why you're so good at it. That's why you and Megan are so good at what you do, because you're in there, you're in the trenches, you're learning, and you're wanting to learn on all levels, just whether it's with marketing or just like as a human being, just being the best that you can. So,
yeah, I think, and ending it on this, I'm just, one thing is I'm naturally very just curious about things as well. And that is really what has led us to get to where we want to go is I won't, in order for me to talk about something or to hear something enough times to where it resonates, and I'm going, there may be something to this, or I hear enough people talk about it, and you get to certain points, and there comes a time where I just go, well, I got to see if this actually works. I got to see if this actually makes a difference. It was kind of the way it was starting the business. Whenever I was going through that, was if I'm going to be out there selling digital, or I'm going to be out there selling social or e-commerce or whatever it is, I've got to prove to myself that it actually does what I've heard it does. And, obviously that's how we've built the business, which gives me a ton of confidence. The more that we continue to see results, and we've had our own results and built the business off of the same stuff that we do. So, just doing that. Now I'm at that point of continuing to try to take things more to those next levels. And each time you kind of, I was talking to my mentor yesterday about every time you kind of hit a certain level, it's crazy because while they bring different challenges, you can almost sense whenever you get there, because it's almost like you feel lost again. And you got to then really analyze where you're at, what's going on, what you need to look to accomplish, which takes a lot of deep thought. It takes a lot of just doing a lot of the things that we're talking about. It takes tapping into others that you can talk to, mentors, whatever. Can't stress enough about the importance of that. But then you get to that certain level, and you're kind of, all of a sudden you're waking up, and you feel like you don't know what direction you need to go to that day. You don't know. Well, you almost feel confused. Like, what am I doing here? I don't know how I got here. Right? Like almost like your whole mind just all of a sudden you're just like back to square one, even though you're not. Like, the business has been growing. We've been having success, but then you reach this certain point. You're like, I'm at a loss. I gotta go back, kind of almost to the basics, and go, okay, what am I missing now? Like, how do I push through this part? And that's where now that started, I've got to really focus on me. I haven't done that. And a lot of this sense that I'm feeling, and a lot of these thoughts that I have are having to do with a lot of stuff that is deeply rooted to my own personal things. So that's whenever I was like, well, I need to start getting focused on my health, which is why, I just hired a personal trainer where I'm doing that, which has been awesome. And trying to get my health back where it needs to be. And, And then now, obviously, going through and working with my mentor, got that ramped back up again because I'd stopped that during COVID-19 and all of that. And obviously, we picked up a lot of business. I mean, it was insanely busy during the pandemic, which we're extremely grateful for. But once that kind of settled and we pushed so hard and realized at that point the best decision for the business was to scale back a little bit, help get the team, help Megan get what they needed to make sure we're servicing, getting the results that we wanted. You start looking around, you're kind of going, okay, well, what do I do now? And next thing you know, even though I've got all the answers, I know what needs to be done, but I can't get to them. So I feel just completely lost. And so it took that, and that's how I knew. I was like, well, now I'm at a different stepping stone, which is great. I look at this other stuff that I was used to be all worried about, or I look at this other stuff, wondering what I needed. And I'm like, past all that, now I'm looking back at that like, oh my gosh, it's nothing. But now I'm looking up here and I'm going, damn, now what do I got? What do I got to focus on? How do I get better? How do I continue pushing? And so I'm just curious, like, is this? And who knows? I may go 6 months. I'm doing it as long as I'm trying my hardest. I'm going through everything, but I didn't get better. Well, then I can look at people and I go, I gave it the best shot. It didn't work for me. I don't think that's going to be the case. But I'm just saying, like, that whenever I'm able to do that long term, where I want to be with influencing others, helping others get through stuff, helping them, with what they're trying to accomplish, whatever that is, this is necessary. But that may be different for somebody else. But I think a lot of people just overlook that inward side of stuff big time. And they're probably a lot like me before I started going through all of this and realizing that, this whole mindset and energy and all that stuff that I just thought was just like woo-woo talking points. The fact of the matter is, I just wasn't ready to hear it yet. I had not grown to the point to where I needed to hear it or I wanted to hear it. And some people are in that boat, but some people are probably looking and going, man, I need to level up. I'm not happy with where I'm at. And whether that they're working for somebody or they're working for themselves, they're running a business where they're not at, the first thing that they need to look at, which they don't, because we automatically go to what's happening around us, the environment, or we're looking at stuff that we think is the reason, but in all actuality, we're confused in our own head. We're not spending enough time going, wait a minute, what am I really trying to do here? And once you start figuring that out and you get everything where you need it to be, one, you start realizing how important it is to make sure that you have the right stuff from a mindset standpoint, the right feelings and focus and energy where, but you also start realizing that you're going to just not even pay attention to the stuff that drags you down because you know how important it is not to even pay attention to it. So stuff that, that used to bother me now, it's just out the window. I just don't even look at it because it just doesn't even know. I mean, that's why we run our business the way that we do as well is, look, I'll just give you money back. Like, I'll give you money to stop bringing negative energy into me and my team, like, because no amount of money is going to make up for what we're going to be able to do when we're all flying high and feeling great and all that. So, I'm just curious. I'm going to continue working through it. And then, so far, everything is good. I felt better just over the last week and a half. Still had some times here and there, but it'll continue to get better. I felt better, more focused, back to clarity as far as what needs to be done and how to do it than I have in a long time, in months. So, it's just kind of one of those things where it's so important, but one, you got to be ready, and you'll know when you're ready because you'll be hearing it. And at some point you'll hit it almost like a wall and you just realize that you can't do it anymore. And so you have to change something. And a lot of times what you have to change is yourself, and not necessarily who you are, but you need to tap into more about who you are, understand what you really want. And the answers will just kind of happen. Like, just trust that if you know where you're going, trust where things are directing you and coming into your life, just trust that that's going to lead you to where you want to go, as long as you continue just going through the motions and staying consistent. So anyway, I went on a ramble as I normally do, which I know.
Going through the motions and staying consistent. Yeah, but I do feel like if a business owner is feeling like they're at a standstill and they've done all they can do externally that they can think about, then it's probably a good time to take a look within. And because if you own your own business and you are that business, then you're going to get to if you're not already in touch with you and you don't know what you're feeling, and even if you have goals, like, goals change as you continue to grow and scale, you're going to change. But we are our business. If you are your business, then you are that business. So your internal world, your external world is the image of the internal world.
Yep.
So if you're finding that your external world is not adding up, or how you'd like for it to be that your business or whatever in your life, then looking inward is beneficial. And I just wanted to say, I don't know if I can explain it really good now, but when you first started talking, you had talked about just how you go through these different things, and each time you have the opportunity. Well, I'm saying that you have the opportunity to learn from your ebb and flows. So as you are experiencing challenge, and then, like, you get to a place where those challenges are no longer challenging anymore, and then there's a new thing, and you said that you're feeling lost. And so I just, for whatever reason at that moment, it kind of reminded me, like, each time that you're living and you're going through things, it reminded me of, like, the algorithms, right? So
Yep.
each time as you continue, you're going to just keep going, just, keep putting that money in those ads, in that ad spend, just keep it consistent, keep it going. And then each time, no matter what the challenges are that you're facing, you're collecting data so that you can then go back and say, okay, when X, Y, and Z or whatever. And you're also just creating momentum. So it's like you have your own algorithms as you're continuing to move and groove throughout your life. And those challenges, it's really good data. Anyway, just wanted to throw
I like
that.
how you tied that into what we do, and that's a perfect way to cap it off, because you pulled it back in the way that you do to what we do, and digital and social and all of that. So good job
Really?
on that. And I actually agree. I agree with you on that. That's actually a really good point. And was that an analogy? I'm not good in English. So.
A parable, an analogy. So we need to care about in our personal lives where we're spending our energy, aka ad spend.
Yeah.
And we need to optimize all that we have so that our algorithms are going to be primo, right? So yeah.
I like that. We should write a blog on that, or make that like part of a blueprint somewhere.
Okay, you get to collect all the data from all of your experiences, and then you can, according to the data, it's all based on data. So based on the data,
decisions.
Feeling, thinking, and experiencing, how can you adjust that and optimize that so your life will continue to go in the direction you'd like for it to go at the best possible rate and outcome? Mm-hmm.
I like that. Yeah, and as you were talking about that, it reminded me of something I was telling Neil. As you continue to look at stuff and you continue to think back, and you're like looking at certain ways, or how you make decisions, or what you're doing, or certain directions that you go, or whatever, and how you know that you're heading in the right way. And I told him, for me, and what I've realized is that I just constantly feel like, especially on the business side, but even on the personal and all of that, from time to time, I feel like I'm in one of those. Um, it's not a race, like oh my gosh, what do you call it? Where you're going through and there's obstacles. Why am I completely blanking
An
on the
obstacle
thought?
course.
Obstacle course.
Yeah,
Yes. Gosh, that was so easy. I even actually said obstacles. But anyway, the obstacle course, I feel like I'm going in one of those obstacle courses, and then you get to that one part where it's got like 8 doors, but only one of them has an opening on the other end. All of them are just wall. And so you got to go and try until you find the one. And that's literally what I feel like almost every day. But if you look back over the course of, especially the 5 years of growing this business, but it's always just been, I know where I want to go. I know on the other side of this wall what's there. I just got to figure out which part of the wall. So I just run right into that first one. It knocks me back. Okay. Run back into that second one, knocks me back. Well, I'm constantly trying new doors until I find the one that allows me to go through, and then I break through. Problem is, each time you break through, there always seems to be another obstacle on the other side of that, that then you've got to recalibrate, figure out the best way around it. What's your strategy to get over that obstacle, get over it, and then you see some walls again where it's just, okay, let me try that one, that one, that one. Then you break through again. It's just constantly doing, but you know that eventually you're going to get to the finish line and you're going to reach that. So, but I feel like that's kind of what you were saying too, is you got to assess, try, analyze the data. Once you did that, like the data for me would be, I ran into the wall and I broke my face or whatever the heck it is. Okay, I'm not going to do that again, but let me try this one. Ran into the wall, broke my nose. Let me try this one, ran through it, and then you're good. And then next time you're going, hey, I know that this next obstacle looks hard as hell, but I know, just like the other ones, even though those weren't as hard, even though I know that whenever I get over it, what's going to be on the other side is going to be so great that it's worth whatever I have to do to get over it or get past it. So
yeah. So 2 things on that. Number 1, I have a motto: if I can do it one time, I can do it again. So no matter how many doors I have to go through, once I've overcome something and I realize this is just another door, it's not as big and scary anymore, because even though it might be different, there's been many times I can look back and say, I got through this. I did this. I was afraid and still did it. And look at the outcome. It turned out great, or I learned a lot, or whatever. And so my motto is, if I can do it one time, I can do it again. So if you've overcome a hurdle, you can overcome another one. Like, you just keep going. And I don't remember what. Oh, yes. And I wanted to say this also. So there's different people in the world, obviously. For me, instead of attempting 8 different doors, I would probably sit and meditate to try to get some intuitive direction, so that I could only try, 4 of the 8 doors. But,
I'm learning all of that. I've just been caveman, man make fire, man run through door. Like that's, I just keep doing it. Now I'm trying to figure out how to do things more smart and
yeah.
just be a little bit more in tune for that. And so I'm excited about the journey for sure.
Yeah, intuition is a great guidance in our life, and we all have it. And we can all develop more intuition. And so meditation is one of those ways of doing it. But we're all, connected to an eternal source of wisdom, and all the answers that we'll ever seek are within us. And that's my belief. It may not necessarily be an auto like exact word by word, this is what you need to do. It might just be a feeling, or you get a hunch, or whatever that might be. But by tuning in, meditating, and taking that time to really understand your own self, you start to understand the energy within yourself. And so you receive guidance and direction without having to hit your head against the wall so many times. But there's nothing wrong with either or. It's just a matter of the approach. So,
Well, I like it. I have to run,
okay.
unfortunately, but this was really good. That's why we kept going with it.